Section. Me, whom thou sawest of late strive with the pains of one who spends his strength to rule his nerve, even as a painter breathlessly, who strains his scarcely moving hand lest it should swerve. Behold me now, free from the care that stains, and master of the art I choose to serve. 2. For thou art mine, and now I am ashamed to have used means to win so pure a quist, and of my trembling fear that might have missed through very care the gold at which I aimed, and am as happy but to hear thee named as are those gentle souls by angels kissed in pictures seen leaving their marble cyst to go before the throne of grace unblamed. Nor surer am I water hath the skill to quench my thirst, or that my strength is freed in measure, grace and motion as I will, than that to be myself is all I need for thee to be most mine. So I stand still, and save to taste my joy, no more take heed. 3. The whole world now is but the minister of thee to me. I see no other scheme but universal love from timeless dream, waking to thee his joy's interpreter. I walk around, and in the fields confer of love at large with tree and flower and stream, and list the lark descant upon thy theme, heaven's musical accepted worshipper. Thy smile outfaceth ill, and that old feud twixt things and me is quashed in our new truce, and nature, now dearly with thee endued, no more in shame ponders her old excuse, but quite forgets her frowns and antics rude, so kindly hath she grown to her new use. 4. The very names of things we love are dear, and sounds will gather beauty from their sense, as many a face through love's long residence groweth to fair instead of plain and sere. But when I say thy name, it hath no peer, and I suppose fortune determined thence her dower, that such beauty's excellence should have a perfect title for the ear. For I must think the adopting muses chose their sons by name, knowing none would be heard or writ so oft in all the world as those. Dan Chaucer, mighty Shakespeare, then for third the classic Milton, and to us arose Shelley with liquid music in the word. 5. The poets were good teachers, for they taught earth had this joy, but that 'twould ever be that fortune should be perfected in me. My heart of hope dared not engage the thought. So I stood low, and now but to be caught by any self-styled lords of the age with thee vexes my modesty, lest they should see I hold them owls and peacocks, things of naught. And when we sit alone, and as I please, I taste thy love's full smile, and can instate the pleasure of my kingly heart at ease. My thought swims like a ship that with the weight of her rich burden sleeps on the infinite seas, becalmed, and cannot stir her golden freight. 6. While yet we wait for spring, and from the dry and blackening east that so embitters March, well housed must watch grey fields and meadows parch, and driven dust and withering snowflake fly. Already, in glimpses of the tarnished sky, the sun is warm and beckons to the larch, and where the covered hazels interarch their tasselled twigs, fair beds of primrose lie. Beneath the crisp and wintry carpet hid a million buds but stay their blossoming, and trustful birds have built their nests amid the shuddering boughs, and only wait to sing till one soft shower from the south shall bid and hither tempt the pilgrim steps of spring. 7. In thee my spring of life hath bid the while a rose unfold beyond the summer's best, the mystery of joy made manifest in love's self-answering and awakening smile, whereby the lips in silence reconcile desire with peace, and pleading in arrest of passion, show the beauty left unguessed of Greece to adorn at last the Tuscan style. When first the wonder conquering faith had kenned, fancy portrayed, above the strength of oath revealed of God, or light of poem penned, the countenance of ancient plighted troth twixt heaven and earth, that in one moment blend the hope of one and happiness of both. 8. For beauty, being the best of all we know, sums up the unsearchable and secret aims of nature, and on joys, whose heavenly names were never told, can form and sense bestow. And man hath sped his instinct to outgo nature in sound and shape, and daily frames much for himself to countervail his shames, building a tower above the head of woe. And never was there work for beauty found fairer than this, that she should make to cease the jarring woes that in the world abound. Nay, with his sorrow may his smiles increase, if from man's greater need beauty redound and claim his tears for homage of his peace. 9. Thus to thy beauty doth my fond heart look, that late dismayed her faithless faith forbore, and wins again her love lost in the lore of schools and script of many a learned book. For thou, what ruthless death untimely took, shalt now in better brotherhood restore, and save my battered ship, that far from shore, high on the dismal deep, in tempest shook. So in despite of sorrow, lately learned, I still hold true to truth, since thou art true, nor wail the woe which thou to joy hast turned, nor come the heavenly sun and bathing blue to my life's need, more splendid and unearned, than hath thy gift outmatched desire and due. 10. Winter was not unkind because uncouth, his prisoned time made me a closer guest, and gave thy graciousness a warmer zest, biting all else with keen and angry tooth, and bravelier the triumphant blood of youth, mantling thy cheek, its happy home possessed, and sterner sport by day put strength to test, and custom's feast at night gave tongue to truth. Or say, hath flaunting summer a device to match our midnight revelry that rang with steel and flame along the snow-girt ice? Or when we harked to nightingales that sang on dewy eves in spring, did they entice to gentler love than winter's icy fang? 11. There's many a would-be poet at this hour rhymes of a love and truth he never wooed, and o'er his lamp-lit desk in solitude deems that he sitteth in the muse's bower. And while such thewless kine the fat devour, and ever grow the leaner for their food, men look askance upon an art pursued by clerks that lack the pulse and smile of power. So none of all our company, I boast, but now would mock my writing, could they see how down the right it maps a jagged coast, seeing they hold the manlier praise to be strong hand and will, and the heart best when most 'tis sober, simple, true, and fancy-free. 12. How could I quarrel or blame you, most dear, who all thy virtues gavest, and kept back none? Kindness and gentleness, truth without peer, and beauty that my fancy fed upon. Now not my life's contrition for my fault can blot that day, nor work me recompense, though I might worthily thy worth exalt, making thee long amends for short offence. For surely nowhere, love, if not in thee, are grace and truth and beauty to be found, and all my praise of these can only be a praise of thee, howe'er by thee disowned. While still thou must be mine, though far removed, and I, for one offence, no more beloved. 13. Now since to me, although by thee refused, the world is left, I shall find pleasure still. The art I have ever loved, but little used, will yield a world of fancies at my will. And though, where'er thou goest, it is from me, I, where I go, thee in my heart must bear, and what thou wert, that wilt thou ever be, my choice, my best, my loved and only fair. Farewell, yet think not such farewell a change from tenderness, though once to meet or part, but on short absence, so could sense derange, the tears have graced the greeting of my heart. There were proud drops, and had my leave to fall, not on thy pity for my pain to call. 14. When sometimes, in an ancient house, where state from noble ancestry is handed on, we see but desolation through the gate, and richest heirlooms all to ruin gone. Because, maybe, some fancied shame or fear, bred of disease or melancholy fate, hath driven the owner from his rightful sphere to wander nameless, save to pity or hate. What is the wreck of all he hath in fief, when he that hath is wrecking? Naught is fine unto the sick, nor doth it burden grief, that the house perish when the soul doth pine. Thus I my state despise, slain by a sting so slight, could not have hurt a meaner thing. 15. Who builds a ship must first lay down the keel of health, whereto the ribs of mirth are wed, and knit with beams and knees of strength a bed for decks of purity, her floor and seal. Upon her masts adventure, pride and zeal, to fortune's winds the sails of purpose spread, and at the prow make figured maidenhead, or ride the seas and answer to the wheel. And let him deep in memory's hold have stored water of Helicon, and let him fit the needle that doth true with heaven accord. Then bid her crew, love, diligence, and wit, with justice, courage, temperance, come aboard, and at her helm the master Reason sit. End of section 1.